Good evening, everyone. I'm your friend or mentor, Dr. Pooja, and today I will be discussing, as I had promised earlier in my previous video, that I would be discussing allosteric inhibition. So let's start up with allosteric inhibition. Now see, first of all, you should know, as I mentioned in my previous video also, what do you mean by inhibition? Inhibition, as it is clear from the word itself, act of stopping. That some reaction is going on and we are just stopping that reaction. Because you know, what is the main function of enzymes? The enzymes help in increasing the rate of a reaction. And how they increase the rate of a reaction? By lowering down the activation energy. Now, let's first of all see what are the different type of inhibition. Reversible, which can be reversed back. Irreversible, which cannot be reversed back, as it is clear from the word itself. And that is why, since irreversible inhibition cannot be reversed back, it is known as a type of suicide inhibition. Reversible is further categorized into three types. Competitive inhibition, when there is a competition between the inhibitor and the substrate. Non-competition, where there is no competition between the inhibitor and the substrate. And uncompetitive, which is rare, in which every time the inhibitor binds with the enzyme substrate complex. Some part of competitive, non-competitive and uncompetitive I have already discussed with you guys. So there is no point repeating them, but still I'll make a separate video on that. Today we are going to focus only on allosteric inhibition. Basically what happens is allo means other. And steric is the interactions. So whenever a modulator is binding to a site totally different from the active site, it is going to change the conformation of that particular enzyme. So whether it will increase the rate of a reaction, whether it is going to decrease the rate of reaction, that will be mentioned as allosteric inhibition, right? Now let's see what are the important postulates of this. As just now I told you, some enzymes possesses additional site other than the active site. Allo, which actually allos, which means other. Right? So they are the unique site obviously on the protein molecule. So allosteric effectors, they are going to bind and regulate the activity of the enzyme. So just now I told you, if the enzyme activity is increased, or you can say the rate of a reaction is increased, then it will be a positive allosteric effector, or it will be a positive modulator. Right? But if it is decreasing the rate of a reaction, that means it has a negative effect, so it will be a negative modulator. And allosteric enzymes always give a sigmoidal curve, which is different from Michaelis-Menten curve, which is a hyperbolic one. Right? So inhibitor is not a substrate analog. It is partially reversible also when excess substrate is added. Now see, सबसे important feature about this is they never follow Michaelis-Menten kinetics. But still for our, you can say, convenience, we say कि it can be Km or it can be Vmax class of enzymes. Right? But otherwise, overall, if we see, they never follow Michaelis-Menten kinetics. As you can see from the curve also, suppose if I talk about a Michaelis-Menten kinetics, if we look at the equation, it increases. More the concentration of the enzyme, more will be the concentration of the substrate, and the enzyme reaction will increase. But a stage will come when all the active sites of the enzyme will be occupied by the substrate. So it is known as what? Zero order kinetics. Or it was given by Michaelis Menten scientists. Now if you compare this with this, obviously either there is an increase which is a positive modulator, or there is a decrease which is a negative modulator. So allosteric inhibition always gives a sigmoidal curve. Very important, right? And see, this is a very good example. If we talk about allosteric inhibition, you can see this is the modulator, isn't it? So whether it is increasing, whether it is decreasing, it is actually influencing the activity of the enzyme. Because the active site is where the substrate binds. And it will bind, as you can see, it will bind to a totally different area, totally different from the active site of the enzyme. And that is why it is known as allosteric inhibition. Or it can be activation also. Just now I told you, depending upon that, whether it is increasing the rate of a reaction or whether it is decreasing the rate of a reaction. There's a common example. If I tell you binding of oxygen with heme, binding of oxygen with heme, you see, if one molecule binds, it led 2, 3, 4 other molecules also to bind with heme. So it is a type of positive allosteric activation, right? Then these are some of the very, very important examples taken from different pathways. Now, first of all, we are going to take up glycolysis. You know, in these are all allosteric inhibitors or activators. If we talk about this, you know, the rate limiting enzyme of glycolysis is phosphofructokinase 1. So, inhibitor is ATP and citrate, but activator is AMP. On the other hand, if we talk about TCA cycle, the rate limiting enzyme is ICD or isocitrate dehydrogenase. ATP is the inhibitor, ADP is the activator. This is a very good slide which actually comprises of so many important questions which have been asked in the competitive exams. Then comes glycogenolysis. In glycogenolysis, you can say glycogen phosphorylase is the rate limiting enzyme. ATP inhibits it and AMP activates it. These are all allosteric inhibitors and activators. Then gluconeogenesis, you know, there are two important enzymes. One is fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase, other is pyruvate carboxylase. Fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase mein AMP is the inhibitor and ATP and citrate ions are the activators, just exactly reverse of this. Because you know, fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase and PFK2 are the two important enzymes here. Right? Because you know, PFK is a bifunctional enzyme. If phosphorylation occurs at the first position, it forms fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. And if phosphorylation occurs at the second position, it is fructose 2,6-bisphosphate or phosphofructokinase 2. Right? And then pyruvate carboxylase, you know, acetyl coenzyme A is a allosteric modulator of this. That is why we say if the gluconeogenesis is the major process during starvation, isn't it? So fatty acid oxidation also increases, which leads to acetyl coenzyme A, and this acetyl coenzyme A will promote gluconeogenesis. Then comes fatty acid synthesis, acetyl coenzyme A carboxylase, which is activated by citrate. So these are some of the allosteric modulators which act as inhibitors or activators. And sometimes we can say this allosteric inhibition is known as feedback inhibition also. Now see, this is a very good diagrammatic representation of enzyme PFK1. PFK1, which is catalyzing the conversion of fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate by an irreversible enzyme. Here ATP is the inhibitor and AMP is the modulator. So you can see this is the inhibitor subunit, this is the activating subunit. Inhibiting subunit binds, this is not there, so no activity will be there. But if AMP binds with this, simple binding site for substrates, excellent fit, or you can say that the reaction occurs. So this is a very good diagrammatic representation of phosphorylation by phosphofructokinase, which illustrates a very good example of allosteric modulation. And just now I told you that it can also be known as a negative feedback inhibition or end product inhibition. For example, if we see there are so many metabolic reactions, A plus B, let's suppose these are the reactants which give rise to form products. If there is an increase in the concentration of this product, it will inhibit its own synthesis. It can block at this step, it can block at this step, it can block at this step. So it is actually giving a feedback to the reactants by giving instructions to the enzyme that no more synthesis of products is required. As you can see, end product of metabolic reaction produced in excess inhibits the first or regulatory enzyme in the sequence. So the end products are controlling their own rate of production. And that is why it is known as negative feedback inhibition or end product inhibition. And the examples of this end product inhibitions you can see in the synthesis of heme. The enzyme inhibited is ALA synthase, which is the first enzyme of synthesis of heme when glycine combines with succinyl coenzyme A. Similarly, in cholesterol biosynthesis, you can say enzyme inhibited is this. Generally, the rate limiting enzymes are the ones which actually undergo this feedback inhibition. Similarly, in glycolysis, you can see hexokinase. And this is the major difference between hexokinase and glucokinase. That hexokinase is inhibited by feedback inhibition, but glucokinase is not inhibited by feedback inhibition. Right? And glucokinase, all of you know that insulin acts on this. Insulin does not act on hexokinase. Then comes acetyl coenzyme A carboxylase, which is the rate limiting enzyme of fatty acid synthesis. Similarly, CTP or aspartate transcarbamylase is the name of the enzyme in pyrimidine synthesis. So these are what? These are actually depicting the negative, or you can say feedback inhibition. Feedback means what feedback they are giving, that no more synthesis of this product is required. So the reaction has to be stopped for some time. So this is a brief summary of allosteric inhibition. So basically you guys after watching this video should be able to differentiate between allosteric inhibition and other type of inhibition. Allosteric, the reason of why I have taken this allosteric inhibition in detail, because there are so many questions, whether you are preparing for FMGE exam, whether you are preparing for your AIMS exam, these questions are bound to ask. They can be asked in the exam. Now the question arises, what is the importance of enzyme inhibition? Why do we study this enzyme inhibition? Basically, because enzymes are the ones which are catalyzing all the biochemical reactions. So overall, if we see the biochemistry of our body, they are actually dealing with the enzymes, whether the concentration of enzyme increases, decreases, whether they are present in the plasma, whether they are present in the cell. There are so many serum enzymes. So basically, estimation of enzymes is carried out for the prognosis of every disease. So obviously, they have to be important. So for understanding the regulation of enzyme activity, correct. Useful in elucidating the cellular metabolic pathways, this is also correct. Identification of the catalytic functional groups at the active site of E, provide information about substrate specificity of the enzyme, useful to study the mechanism of catalytic activity, and enzyme inhibitors have therapeutic applications also. Most drugs are competitive and suicide inhibitors. So in my next video, I am going to discuss about the therapeutic use of these competitive inhibitors. So I hope I was able to resolve your queries, whatever queries were there on this allosteric inhibition. Once we finish up with the different type of inhibitions, definitely I am going to ask you questions, right? There will be a question answer discussion forum in my YouTube channel also. So guys, circulate my channel among your friends so that your other friends also can be benefited with this. And obviously this gives a boost to the teacher also, who is preparing, who's working hard to prepare these type of slides and presenting them in front of you. So wishing you all the best. Thank you so much for listening to my channel patiently, for listening to me patiently. And if you have got any queries, my website is, I mentioned in my previous video also, biochemistry simplified.com. So don't hesitate to put in your queries on this. So I'm there to help you. Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.